Good morning. You know, it's Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, who coined the phrase the Stockdale Paradox. The idea came about because of an interview he had with Admiral Jim Stockdale. Admiral Stockdale, you remember, was a POW in North Vietnam. He'd been shot down over North Vietnam in the late 60s. There he was taken to the infamous prisoner of war camp that they sometimes call the Hanoi Hilton. Their prisoners were beaten, tortured. He was the highest ranking officer. He would be there for years. And in the end, he was beaten and tortured more than 20 times. It would leave him permanently deaf in one ear, leave him crippled in terms of his walk with a limp, would leave him hurt with one of his arms. And yet he would get out. He survived. And he came home and he wound up living a wonderful life of meaning and purpose, was reunited with his wife. He was a man of great faith, and he had found the strength to make it through. Well, Jim Collins was talking to Admiral Stockdale, and he said, I read your book about your life, and when I realized what you faced and what you had to endure, it made me depressed, and I knew the end of the story, that you got out. How in the world did you survive through all of that? And Jim Stockdale said, well, I never doubted for a moment that I would survive and get out and turn this event for good in my life. And Jim Collins said, well, who didn't get out? Who didn't make it? And he said, oh, that's easy. It's the optimist. Excuse me? Collins said, the optimist? But you just, he said, you must understand. You must never confuse the issue of having a faith that you will survive with just being an optimist. He said there were those who were in the camp and they just knew that we were going to get out come 4th of July after they'd been captured, and 4th of July came and went and we didn't get out. And then they said, well, we'll get out at Thanksgiving, for surely we'll be rescued by Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving came and went and we didn't get out. Surely we'll be rescued by Easter. By Easter we will get out. And Easter came and went and we didn't get out. And then we were back all the way to summer again. And when it came, they died. No, you must learn to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality and have an undying faith that you will be successful. To be willing to look at the facts of the current reality and to have an undying faith that you'll be successful. That's the hard thing for people to do. Sometimes we're just a Pollyanna. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. And when it's not fine, we are crushed. Other times, you can just look at the glass and see it's half empty, and you become so depressed and so negative, you never try. It's to be able to do both, to look at the facts and to have the faith that you are going to be successful. That really is what we have to do in our lives. Sometimes we don't want to go to the doctor. We have that cough that lingers and lingers. We find ourselves running a temperature or some problems going on, and we don't want to look at the facts. We don't want to look under the bed. There might be monsters there, and so we don't go. Or sometimes it's in relationships. Maybe something isn't right, and we're so afraid it isn't right, we decide we don't want to talk about it until somebody comes in and says, I want a divorce. Or it might be that, we're struggling with finances. There never seems to be enough, and we just never want to sit down and really look at the budget. It is easy not to want to look at the most brutal facts of the current reality. And at St. Luke's, we've always been willing to do that. For 30 years now, we have been looking at how many do we have in Sunday school, and what's the worship attendance, and how are the offerings going, and what's happening on Wednesday Night Alive. We've looked at the numbers because we believe the numbers represent ministry, and if ministry is going well and is effective, those numbers should be growing. And so we have looked at them over the years, and sometimes they were good and sometimes they weren't good, but we wanted to know the truth. And when you know the truth, we still have that belief we will be successful because we're seeking to serve God in a meaningful way, to share His love and bring hope in this world. And so it is the last 30 years we've been making progress at carrying that mission out. We all can be honest with our own lives. If we want to live more exciting and effective and meaningful lives, we've got to first of all look honestly at the facts of the current reality and know that with God's help, we're going to be successful. It was Paul, when he was in prison, who was writing to the Philippians and said, I've learned the secret of facing plenty and want. I've learned that I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. Never forget, you're not in this alone. Have the faith that you will be successful, and don't be afraid to look at the facts. I hope you have a great day.